The top horizontal line that starts underneath the pinky and goes across the top of your hand, it's called the heart line. It's your relationship style, how you communicate in any kind of relationship, how you express love and affection, how you want love and affection expressed to you.
Authentic Talks is all about authentic conversations. This show is all about growth, love, respect, success, mind, body, and spirit. If you're looking to grow and become your authentic self, then this is the podcast for you. And I am your host, Shanta. Welcome to the show. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Authentic Talks. This week's guest has been referred to as the Purpose Whisperer. She is a purpose, law of attraction, and spiritual life coach and speaker. She is also the author of Twists, Turns, and Truths. You guys, you don't want to miss this show. This week's guest is a master scientific hand analysis and teacher. Please welcome Jayne Sanders to the show. Hi, Jayne. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Shanta. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you here as well. Now, Jayne, we're just going to go ahead and dive on in. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience? Who is Jayne?
So Jayne, on the business end, is a master scientific hand analyst, and I have 3 coaching certifications: purpose, law of attraction, and spiritual life coaching, which is the inner work. And hand analysis, it's not palm reading. It's literally scientific, and we can go into that in a little bit if you'd like, but it does reveal your innate life purpose, how you're meant to make a difference in the world, and special gifts you have to help you do that, and blind spots that trip you up in all aspects of life. And that's my entree assessment tool, neuroscientific assessment tool that's so accurate. Forbes wrote an article about it. So that's the business part. And the personal part is I live in Colorado. I absolutely love it. I'm a horse freak, and I have a horse right now that I rescued about 5.5 years ago and have been riding him almost every day. So I'm kind of addicted.
That's nice. So you're used to riding now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been riding. I mean, I got into it late in life. I always dreamed about it as a kid, but I got deeply into horses in my late 30s, and I've been around them, and I've owned at least one horse for 20 years.
That is awesome. Now let's go back to the hand. How did you become interested in the hand?
Such a great question. So my background, Shanta, is corporate, and I have an MBA, and I've had 3 prior careers to this. Successful, but each one I would just hit a point where I wasn't happy anymore. I was unfulfilled, off track. I knew it. Something was missing, and career coach didn't help. Reading all the books and taking all the assessments didn't help. And in my 3rd career, I was a professional speaker. I had my own business, and it lasted a long time, and I loved it for a while, but hit that same wall again after, 14 or 15 years. And I was so bummed, because I really thought I was on it. And as my heart pulled away from the business, so did the revenue, but I didn't want to invest in it because I didn't want to really do it anymore. And I was just in this downward spiral. And I knew what I was missing was the articulation of my purpose. I just knew that. I really believed everybody has a unique purpose. And so I started Googling, how do I find my life purpose? And I know I was just like, Google. And it took me down a few paths that didn't pan out. And then after a few months, I ran across a headline for a teleseminar, and it said, discover your innate life purpose. And I was like, whoa, I was just so excited. So I clicked that link, and the first words I saw were hand analysis. And I was so bummed, because a lot of palm readers, and hey, palm reading is a lot of fun and can offer some value, but this is not it. And I knew that palm reading would not identify my purpose. So I was like, oh, poo. And then I saw the word scientific. So that one word helped me appease my anal MBA skepticism. So I listened to the teleseminar. It was really credible, and I really wanted my purpose. So I got a scientific hand analysis done. Oh my God. I mean, it blew my mind. It answered questions I didn't even know I had. It was like, no wonder that for my whole life didn't work, but no wonder that did. And no wonder I liked that, but I didn't like that. And it was just like bing, bing, bing. I mean, my neurons were firing like crazy, and it doesn't give you the job description. That would be cuckoo. But I knew, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I just knew if I took action on the information in the hands that I would find my way, that I would get more clarity, that I would be connected to the right people and doors would open. And that's exactly what happened. And I got into the right group, and just within a few months, it was like, oh, good grief. If I was so inspired and on fire before I even knew what my purpose looked like as far as a career, that's how I want to help people feel. So I started studying it right away. And I studied it for 5 straight years, started doing it right away. And I'm as highly certified as possible. I'm certified to teach it. And I'm a master, which is just the sheer number of hand analysis that I've done. And then I started doing coaching and getting coaching certifications. So I am on purpose, and I'm very fulfilled. And that's how I want people to feel. That's what I do.
Yes.
I want people love their lives and love their work. Life's too short.
I agree 100%. So your hand actually tells a story of what?
It's pretty much everything about who you are and why you're here.
Why
And
you're here?
your purpose.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And, clients use the word, like I just did, mind-blowing, because it is. And they also call it freaky accurate, profound, it's deep, it's comprehensive, it's a ton of information. But it's your best self. I mean, it's like your blueprint to your best life. The easiest and most joyful way through life is by following your design, which is in your hands, because the lines in your hands mimic the neural pathways in your brain. So that's the scientific part. And the gentleman that created this system, he spent 40 years. Oh my God, talk about anal. 40 years putting this database together, and analyzed over 30,000 hands, which is more subjects than any FDA-approved drug out there. And he wrote a book about a lot of the aspects of it, not all of it. But the foreword to his book was written by a neurosurgeon from Stanford who was using this work with his patients. So it's quite credible and very accurate.
It's mind-blowing to me too. So you could look at my hand and say, you should be doing this with your life?
Well, the concept of it, not the actual job description.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I didn't have to be a hand analysis. There were other ways that I could have fulfilled my purpose, but I chose that. So everybody has options. Thank goodness, right?
Yes.
But yes, some people, if they get a hand analysis and they have an idea of what they want to do differently, I can tell them if it's in alignment or not. I can tell them why they're off track, where they're off track, what action to take. But a lot of people like me need help, taking the information and figuring out their ideal work. Or some people are already in their ideal work. Maybe they're not making the money they want to make. So I can tell them where they're stuck, what's causing that challenge, and some suggestions on what to do about it. And a lot of people choose then to coach with me as well, because this is my base. I mean, it's the foundation of everything I do. So I can guide people through personal challenges, relationship stuff, money stuff, feeling bored, stuck, overwhelmed, confused, off track, procrastinating, all that, sad, angry. It all shows up right here.
What does it look like to be your client? You obviously have to see people only in person. Is that how that works?
No, and I'm so glad you asked. I have clients all over the world: Australia, Papua New Guinea, Colombia, England, Germany, Canada. We use hand prints. So I'm going to show something here. This is an example of a hand print. So I send handprint kits wherever my client is, and there's instructions and ink sheets inside. Take your prints, mail them back to me, and I load them into my Dropbox, and then we do the appointments. by Zoom. So we can see each other and I can pull up the prints and show you what markings I'm talking about and what they mean and how I determined what I see, where I'm getting the information that I'm telling you. And the hand analysis actually involves 2 hours with me, which I don't know if anybody else does that, but it's an hour for the initial analysis. And then and everything's recorded. And I ask people to watch their recording because, Shanta, it's so much information. It's hard to take it all in. And even when you do, if you listen to the recording, you're going to hear something else or something different. Even if you listen to it 3 times, you'll hear 3 different things or 3 different aspects. So the second call then is to answer any questions, to help implement the information and integrate it into your life, however I can support and help during that second hour. And some people want to ask about my coaching.
And so this led you into writing a book. You have a book called Twists and Turns Truth.
Yep, it's Twists, Turns, and Truths.
Okay, got it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, it's a mouthful. It's a lot of tutu going on, but Twists, Turns, and Truths. It's called The Life and Lines of a Master Scientific Hand Analyst. So in that book, I tell some of the up and down stories of my life and how my characteristics involved, good and bad, show up in my hands. So it's not to teach people hand analysis. It's more to teach through my stories and through my experiences, but it just adds that extra little fascination of how stuff shows up in my hands. So you can peek behind the curtain for me.
That's awesome. What was that process like of writing the book?
Took me, I started it in August of 2018, finished it early spring of 2019. So it was very vulnerable, Shanta, I won't lie, because, I'm telling, my guts are in that book. It's very open. It's raw in places. I don't think you can teach, without vulnerability and conflict. Mm-hmm. So it was, like a couple stories, my editor would kick it back and say, no, you're holding back here. They're going to know it. Readers are very smart and they're going to know when you're skimming through the tough stuff. So I'm like, okay. So I'd have to dive in deeper and, the editing goes back and forth, but it feels very good to get it done. I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. And it's on Amazon if anybody wants to check it out.
Okay.
Twists, Turns, and Truths.
All right. So Amazon's where the book is. I noticed that you have horses on your website. I also noticed horses in the background on the wall as well as the hands.
Yeah.
Do you just enjoy horses, or is there like something about them that's therapeutic, or?
All the above, Shanta. They are amazing. I have used them in one of the retreats I've done for people because there's, you've probably heard of equine assisted psychotherapy. There's lots of different names for it, but horses are very healing and very intuitive, and they, in these therapy sessions, act as our mirrors. So, corporations use them for communication, leadership training, teamwork.
Leadership training?
Yeah, because you have to be a leader to get a horse to do what you want it to do. And the group is working together to figure out how to get results with the horse, and they really learn how to step up better. And then individually, it just helps with self-awareness and confidence and clarity, bringing things up and out. I have goosebumps just talking about it. They're amazing. The first time I ever worked with horses in an equine therapy situation, it was for people that were in a rehab. So just helping them, with self-awareness and going more deep within themselves and finding their power and confidence. Pretty cool stuff. Now, I will do that from time to time in my retreats because it's such a special, unique thing. But I have a horse now that I rescued about 5.5 years ago. I had 2 and I lost one a couple years ago, but I ride him almost every day. So he clears me, he grounds me.
Wow.
Gives me lots of inner peace, and it's just so calming for me, unless, of course, like there's a dog off leash that spooks him and then I'm hanging on for dear life. But Yeah, it's been a life-changing experience. And on my website, I think it's under About Jayne. Anyway, there's a whole section called Equine Friends, and there's lots of photos of horses that I've owned, that I've ridden, that I've loved, and there's even a few poems that I've written about horses.
Wow, that's nice. So, Purpose Whisperer, you have products, you offer classes to help people. What types of classes do you offer on your website?
Well, what I have on my website are a couple of video series. One is 21 different little short videos, each one an aspect of law of attraction. Most of them with little rituals that you can put into play immediately to start attracting more of what you want in life and work. And each of those videos is less than 5 minutes. So it's a nice little series.
We've heard a lot about law of attraction, and some people give up on it because they feel that it doesn't really.
Well, they're not using it right.
And that's what your videos help them to get to.
Yeah, it's you have to be consistent with it. The law of attraction is always working. So it's a matter of how we're using it. And the real basics are that, whatever you put out mostly is what you're going to get more of. Not the exact thing, but that feeling. So if somebody's grumpy a lot, they're going to get situations, they're going to attract situations that make them feel grumpy. And if they worry a lot, they're going to attract situations that make them worry. So, like it's hard to attract more money if you are focusing on your debt, because that icky feeling is what you're going to attract more of. So there's lots of little tips in that program. And then another one I have is called Discover Your Genius, and it's a 5 video series, and those are about an hour that cover all the possible gift markings in the hands, what they look like and what they mean. So it's a deep dive into each gift marking, and there's 18 possible gift markings, and those are very important. It's an important aspect of a hand analysis because they become part of your purpose. Gift markings are a big important piece. They help explain the how, the gifts you have to help you fulfill your purpose. If you take every human on the planet, more than half do not have a gift marking. Doesn't mean some of them aren't amazing people making a big difference in the world, but when you have a gift marking, it's important. It's a big deal. And the third reason they matter is because everything in the hands has both a master path and a student path. Master path is where we want to be as much as possible. It feels good. It helps us achieve that deeper and more consistent joy and fulfillment and success on our terms that we want. The student paths don't feel so good. Well, the kicker is nobody can be on the master path of any marking 100% of the time. Sucks, but we're human, right? We're works in progress, and that would be the objective. So even gift markings also have a master and a student path. So when you have gift markings, if you have, let's say, 3 gift markings, they bring in 3 more challenges, 3 more life complications, because that's how the student paths show up. And since nobody can be on the master path 100% of the time, you will experience the student paths. But the idea is when you see it in your life, flip it around, stop what you're doing, do the opposite, change your mindset to help you temporarily get to the master path.
Wow.
That was a lot of information. I hope that made sense.
It did make sense. That was very interesting. I have never really thought about the lines in my hand. Going back to that, past a palm reader, it's amazing how our bodies are, our feet, our hands, all of how it all ties in.
It's totally, a lot of people can get health information from iridology, from the eyes. Some people read faces for personality and ears. People have asked me, if I read feet, and I'm like, no, I think I'll stick with hands. Just as a little short story in that arena that you're talking about, I was in the back of a church. I believe it was a Methodist church. And one of my clients came up to me with her little son and said, would you mind doing a little mini reading for John? And I said, no, of course not. And so I looked at his hand and told her a few things that I could see. And the pastor walked in and he said, oh, dear Lord, palm reading in the sanctuary. And I just said, well, Victor, and I pointed to the palm of my hand and I said, who do you think put this information in there? And he just, I channeled that, Shanta. I don't know where that came from. And he just stopped and you could see the wheels turning. And then he held his hands out for me to do a little mini reading for him. And then he got a hand analysis for himself and his wife. I thought that was very open-minded of a minister because of the skepticism around palm reading. But here's the thing, hand analysis, there's no predictions with it, no fortune telling, can't tell anybody how many kids they're going to have, don't want to, can't tell anybody when they're going to find Mr. Right. I can tell them what's holding it up, what they could work on to help improve the chances of that. There's some similar terminology, but it's not palm reading. And, again, I've had my palm read and was kind of astonished at some of the accuracy of it, but it's different. This is very credible and identifies your purpose and your special gifts. And it's just quite different. Yeah.
That's really awesome. I love it. This is the first time I've heard of it.
Most people haven't. I haven't either. There's more hand analysts. Well, first of all, a lot of palm readers call themselves hand analysts. So you really do need to look for the word scientific. But there are more scientific hand analysts than people realize. But a lot are coaches or therapists or counselors who kind of keep it under the radar and use it in their work. But I think it's amazing. And, if people are skeptical about it, that's up to them. I was too when I first saw it, but at least I, was open-minded enough to listen to that first teleseminar, which really helped me understand it better.
So all of our lines are different? Because I thought that everybody had like the same lines.
Well, you have the same line, but how it presents is different. Now, as I say that, for example, and I'm showing my hand in front of the screen, the top horizontal line that starts underneath the pinky and goes across the top of your hand, it's called the heart line. It's your relationship style, how you communicate in any kind of relationship, how you express love and affection, how you want love and affection expressed to you. Now that line, there's only 4 primary types, but people are a combination. So you and I might have the same relationship style, for example, but there's little things. If you look real close in good light, you'll see little lines probably attached to your heart line, maybe little bubbles on it. So there's all kinds of little things that then personalize it even more to you. And we get tons of information from the fingerprints, which are formed in utero and never change, right? Or the FBI would be in deep doo-doo, right? So the core of who you are comes from your fingerprints. Of course, those are individual. Now, the fingerprints that I use from handprints are not specific and individualized enough for somebody to take something from one of the handprints I use and steal somebody's identity. But there are 4 categories of fingerprints. There's types within each category, and where they are located tells me what they mean, and the type tells me how important it is. So I don't think, I do purpose in 2 ways. There's the core, the foundation from the fingerprints, and then I do an expanded version. I've done over 3,000 hand analysis. I don't think anybody's had the exact same expanded version of their purpose.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very individual. And a lot of people have fingerprints in their palm and they don't even know it. So there's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 21 different places in the hands where you could have a fingerprint. So if you took 21 times 21, I guess, that'll tell you how many different.
You know what? Because you just said that, I just realized that I do actually have a fingerprint inside just above the palm.
Right underneath one of your fingers or in between your fingers?
Yeah, it looks like it's right between the pinky finger and the index finger. It looks like it's like right around in that area.
Well, it would be, those fingers are 4 fingers apart. So is it between your pinky and your ring finger, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Between
Okay.
the
Yeah. I'm like, no, girl, can't do that. Not unless you're missing 2 fingers, and I'm so sorry. Which hand, Shante?
That's my right hand.
So that means you're going to flip out. That fingerprint, I don't know how important it is, but it's part of your design. The interpretation of that fingerprint is artist with a public message. And look what you're doing.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that freaky?
Yeah, that actually is.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
I know. I mean, it's just, I have goosebumps. It just,
Wow.
I don't know the vast majority, and I mean like 95% of my clients, I don't know them, haven't seen them until we get on the Zoom call. I've already prepared the work, and I just go with what it says, and it's always right.
Wow. I love that you get to do this over Zoom.
I
Technology is
know.
amazing. Imagine if we all had to fly to you.
Well, first of all, my business would be much tinier, and oh my God, I'd have to keep my house clean all the time and wear pants.
You know that line, the heart line that you talked about?
Yep. Where does yours end? So tell me, it always starts on the pinky end. Tell me where it ends and if it's straight or curvy.
Mine starts, it starts to curve up a little, and
Yep.
it doesn't make it all the way to the index finger. It kind of stops like about, I don't know, maybe an inch or not I don't know. Like it stops before you get to mine is kind of in the middle of the index finger and that middle finger, but
Okay.
it's not all the way up there. So I don't
I
know.
already know what it is. I already know what it is. So that type, there's different names for it. And the name that the founder came up with, people get turned off at first until they realize what it is. But yours is called a social hermit. And it may be different on your other hand, and you may have other things too that you can't see, but that particular part of it is a social hermit, and that is somebody who keeps their deepest feelings close in until they trust. They can be very loyal, sometimes to a fault. Their alone time is really important, critical for them to be the best they can be, and they are freedom seekers. They really need freedom, all kinds of freedom. Even if you're in a meeting and somebody's papers get in your space on the table, it's kind of annoying. Hermits on the master path have high integrity, high reliability. They sometimes hesitate to commit. And it's not that they're afraid of commitment. It's because if they commit to something, say it's like next Saturday night, and then something better comes up that they'd rather do, or Saturday comes and they don't feel like going out, but they've already committed and they have high integrity. So then they feel trapped. So it squishes their freedom.
Interesting.
Right?
You know what I have on that same one? There's another little piece that comes off of it, like a tree limb but you barely can see it. It's like,
where's it go?
Okay, so the main one is kind of the heart one. It stops a little bit before you get between the fingers, but when I'm looking in the light, it's actually leaning more. The heart one is kind of branching out like a tree directed at the index finger. And then the other piece that comes off of that heart line is closer to the middle finger, but it's kind of like coming off of, you know what I mean? Or
well, I'm kind of going blind here, but it sounds like you might have a piece of a big heart as well, which is also called the nurture, which is all about love and connection and nurturing. And the big piece is helping others. So,
that's true.
Yeah. So a little bit more information about that. A hermit, their favorite way of communicating love and affection, and this is any kind of relationship, is by doing things, acts of service. And they can be romantic, but not so mushy. And their student path, because remember, everything has a student path, is trust issues, especially if somebody doesn't do what they said they were going to do. Because hermits, when you're in your hermit, you just don't get it when people flake out. And a big heart, though, can be mushy. They can express love and affection all different ways. And their challenge is, because they so much want to help people, is that they overgive and don't take care of themselves enough. It's always about others. And they can be receiving challenged. they often don't ask for help enough. And when it's offered, they turn it down. Like, Shanta, can I do? No. I got it. That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. The book is more about like what you discovered about your hand, and then it talks
Yes.
about, okay, got it.
But they can look at the markings that I'm talking about and showing and see if they have the same marking.
Oh, got it.
Because some of the things I'm talking about are the more general markings.
Mm-hmm.
So you could look and say, oh, I have that bitter pill too, or I have this type of heart line, or I have that type of fingerprint in that location. So you can learn a lot about what's in your hands from the book. You can't get a hand analysis from it, but you can still learn some of the things in your hands.
Yeah, but they can reach out to you. It's awesome that you're able to send out a kit and then they send it back and then have the Zoom call. I love technology. It allows for so many different things to happen now.
It's fabulous. I've always used Zoom. I've never seen person live. Never seen people. Well, when I first started, a little bit, but real fast. I was like, because I've got a lot of hermit in my hands. I'm hermit and big heart too. Those are the two most common types. And I was like, I do not want to have to get dressed up and have my house clean every time I have an appointment. And it takes more time because you need more time in between. People have to commute. It's so much more sustainable, right? And environmentally friendly to use Zoom than to have people commuting. So I've been using Zoom for, 6 years, 5 years.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
In what ways do you help companies?
Thank you for asking that. So if you can imagine, if you were the leader of a team and you knew the purpose and the gifts of your team members, you could assign projects and even job positions much more effectively in alignment with their purpose and gifts, which will increase their morale, their productivity, their engagement, which will increase retention, which positively impacts the bottom line. And the leaders themselves, a hand analysis, man, is it self-awareness, let me tell you. So it helps leaders become better leaders and better role models. And also I can take the members of a cohesive team and do a hand analysis for all of them. And there's a numerical system involved in this work. This is quite a robust system. And I can put together a matrix and through that numerical system, flush out the overall purpose and primary gifts and challenges of that team so that they can work together more effectively. They'll understand each other better. Are you familiar with like Myers-Briggs or DISC or any of those assessment tools?
I think I've heard of one of them.
Yeah. So this is just, it's deeper. And in my opinion, it's more reliable because it doesn't rely on how somebody interprets the questions or answers them or the score they want to get or the mood they're in when they take the assessment. They don't have to say a word. It's etched in their hands. So it's independent of any of those potentially biased aspects. And it's fun and it's unique and it's really different. So people like that aspect of it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jayne, you also speak and you have a blog?
Yep.
Let's talk about that blog.
It has basically what I put on my blog is my weekly newsletter. I send out a newsletter to my list every week and it has an image of a marking and sometimes a video, sometimes not, but the newsletter, I put a description of what that marking is and what it means. So you can look in your hand, see if you have it, and learn something about yourself. And then I put my upcoming speaking engagements. And at the bottom, I always put a personal note of some kind, usually some critter that I see out on my walks or something about my horse or my kitties or something that I baked because I love to bake too. I think the one that's going out this coming Wednesday, I have a picture of my lemon bliss cake. So I bake a lot and then I give it away. Otherwise, that would not be healthy for me if I ate all the stuff I baked. Shanta, I would like to offer your audience a special price on a full hand analysis, if that would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my retail is for, the 2 hours with me, the handprint kit, the recordings, the summary report. your purpose, all the stuff that's in your hands, is $4.97, which is about average for hand animals, maybe a little bit low for somebody with the experience and training that I do. But if anybody emails me at jayne@purposewhisperer.com and tells me they heard me on Authentic Talks 2.0, I will give them $100 off that. So yeah, like 20% off. So that would be $3.97. Nobody, since I've been doing this since 2012, nobody has ever asked for a refund.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah.
You guys, you hear that? Authentic peeps, you guys get 20% off.
I'd be happy to do that.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. So you are also a teacher where you're teaching others to do what you do.
I have taught hand analysis. There are 4 different levels. Level 1 is the fingerprint system. So that's where we get the core of your purpose, of what we call your life lesson, which is like the biggest challenge, the biggest tripping point that keeps people from that deeper and more consistent joy and fulfillment. And we also, from the fingerprint, get something we call the life school, which is, it's kind of like your operating system, the overarching energy of your life and how the filter through which you experience life and make a lot of decisions. So 3 big pieces of information come from the fingerprints.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so our hands are interesting.
Fascinating.
Who knew? Who knew?
I know. Full of information. It's just, I don't know. I love every time I do a hand analysis, which is several times a week. I go from every once in a while I'll just have one in a week, but usually I've got between 3 and 7 that are interspersed in between my coaching calls. And everyone's like a little mystery. It's really fun to uncover and reveal for people, how they're meant to make a difference, the concept behind the job description, because everybody has options of jobs that would fit their purpose, where to take action to make their life even better. It's really life-changing if they use the information.
Wow, that is awesome, you guys. If you use the information.
Yeah.
I love it. And now I'm going to look at my hands in a different way for the rest of my life. Who knew that there was a story there,
Yeah, it's been delightful.
It has been delightful. You are correct. Really, that the hands were, it actually is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's, 3 other heartline types, but.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can.
Well, wait, I already explained 2. So I explained hermit and big heart. So, and a classic big heart, by the way, peeps, is it starts under the pinky finger and goes all the way to the index finger. So that would be a classic big heart. But some people can have a piece of a broken piece of big heart line. And interesting, I didn't mention this, but the fingerprints, well, I did mention, they never change, of course. But other things in your hands can change. And when I started this work, started studying it back in 2011, I had hermit and a piece of big heart on both hands. But a few years later, my hermits both grew fully to big hearts, because all I do all day long is help people.
Oh.
When you first glance, what you see is the hermit. So I still have a lot of hermit energy and I love my hermit, but it's interesting that changed. So another heartline type has a lot of curve to it, and it would start under the pinky and then curve sharply up to just inside the middle finger, or anyway, closer to the middle finger than to the index finger. And that's called a passionate. And a passionate is exactly that. Somebody who's very outgoing, a lot of fun to be around, a lot of zeal and lust for life. They can be a little dramatic, kind of the life of the party. And passionates want what they want, and they want it now, damn it. And they figure out how to get it. And on the master path, they model for others how to ask for what they want. Passionates don't hold back on the master path asking for what they want, which is what everybody needs to do. Because what the rest of us do, and passionates on the student path, is dropping hints or indirectly, maybe a little passive aggressive. And passionates on the student path can be overly dramatic or get angry when they don't get what they want. But people love passionates because they're so much fun to be around. And fourth kind is called a romantic idealist. And that's a very long, relatively straight heart line that starts under the pinky, and it has to go at least halfway past, or at least past the halfway point between the middle finger and the index finger. And some romantic idealists go all the way across the hand. And that is somebody who is in their head a lot about their emotions and their feelings and their relationships. Makes them very considerate because they're thinking about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A classic romantic idealist would never just like have bubble bath wrapped in case they needed a gift at the last minute. Oh no. Because they think about everything, they will go out and match the gift to the person. So yeah, they're really considerate partners, but they can be romantic, not so mushy. And their biggest challenge is that they're in their head too much about their emotions and don't let themselves feel the emotions. You know, they're always analyzing how they feel and what's going on in their relationship. So those are the four heartline types, and many people are a combination. So it's hermit or social hermit, and a social hermit just has more curve to it and more emotion involved. Big heart, passionate, and romantic idealist.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Very interesting stuff about our hands. I love it. You learn something new every day, and I love that my hands are telling the story of my life, has my purpose within my own hands.
Yep.
And all of that. That is amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. And I just so appreciate you inviting me. This has really been fun, and I hope fascinating and interesting for your listeners.
Oh, yeah. I think it will be, because people love learning things and finding out new things.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys, that was pretty interesting. I actually really did learn something. I had never paid attention to the palm of my hand on the inside long enough to realize that I actually did have what looked like fingerprints on the inside the palm of my hand like that. And it was interesting to see how the hubby and the kids and we were just like comparing our lines on our hands. And I do think that it's definitely something there. I also know that like it's just really interesting how our bodies do tell us a story, and how oftentimes we just ignore those things because we got so used to like that person who really wasn't like a palm reader, beating people out of their money and just saying whatever, and just was really money hungry, you know. And so whenever you do run into someone who is authentic, it's you just kind of want to feel them out to make sure that it's a real thing. And so you guys, I really enjoyed talking with Jayne, and if you want to connect with her website is purposewhisperer.com, and she is also the author of Twists, Turns, and Truths, and that book is available on Amazon. She is also a life coach where you can connect with her as far as your purpose, law of attraction. And if you want Jayne to become a speaker at one of your events, you can also contact her for that as well. All right, you guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Shanta with Authentic Talks.